All right, let's get started. So, last week, if you remember, we talked about the journey of a buyer, and we're going to be talking about communication with those buyers and sellers. To be honest with you, in these different phases of their journey. So, I briefly want to kind of go over the journey again, and then as we talk about those the communication techniques and things, think about where those people are in that journey and how we would communicate with them. So, when we talked about awareness, at that point, the buyer or the seller would be in that stage where, okay, I realize there's a problem. I realize that a I my house is too small, or I'm moving because of a job relocation, divorce, death, any of these things where they are aware of a problem. At this phase, you got to remember they're aware of their problem and not your solution. Okay, so when we think of it that way, the only communication we're going to have with them is maybe through some advertising, through Facebook, through digital means, maybe your signs on your car. They're aware of the problem. They're starting to notice notice you as an agent, but they have not got to the phase of consideration. When they're in that consideration, they are now investigating. Okay, so uh, in that stage, again, your communication may be more of of a house that they're if they're a move up buyer, and you got a 3,000 square foot house and you've got it out there, and they look at it, it strikes. They're looking through it, it catches them, and they see that, oh, this is 4 bedrooms, and now they're considering something that you've put out there. They're also looking at what value and services. Okay, at this point, they have not yet made a decision. They have made a decision on a house. They have made a decision on a agent, um, and they're also doing a lot of education. This is where these pieces, like if it's a first-time home buyer, let's say, in the awareness phase on a first-time home buyer, they may be an apartment, rents going up, they're not getting anywhere, and they're aware that, okay, I need to buy a house. So in the consideration phase, maybe you've put something. They're starting to do that investigation. Maybe you've put something out there about the first time home buyer's handbook, or the stages of buying a house. And it's you put an ad out there, sign up here, you get this free booklet on buying your first house, or whatever it may be. Maybe it's financing. LOs, a lot of times in that world, they're advertising things like credit help, or what you need to do and have in order to buy your first house. They're educating themselves. They are looking at all these things they need to do to solve their problem. This is also the time they may stop and start looking at your solution that you're offering. What services do you offer, and who you are, and that way, that they have totally they haven't called you to interview. I think that's more in the consideration or the decision phase. It's kind of right in between there. But once they hit that decision phase, that's where you're going to have some verbal communication, hopefully, in the consideration and the decision phase of this journey. But it's going to be more emails, more drip campaigns. So think of your internet buyer lead as it comes in, um, and they if they've signed up for something, they're probably. I mean, yes, I know some of these guys are just window shopping, and that's fine. But some of these people are in that consideration phase, and they have bid on your bait, which is a house, or a something of value, something of education, that they can make and help them make that decision. Decision is where you've communicated with them through all these phases, either digitally or emails or drip campaigns or text or whatever, video, uh, and now they're making the decision to contact you as an agent. So in that phase, now we're having the verbal communication. We're not yet we probably don't have them in the office yet, or meeting with them with a consultation or anything, or going to see their house as a listing presentation. We're probably not there. But if they've made the decision to actually, pick you, and you'll be getting them, that'll be where the communication is that, hey, when can we meet? So in all these phases, try to remember we are looking for, one, their pain points, uh, and their pleasure points. So it may be, I'm moving closer to my grandkids, or whatever. Those are things that would bring the pleasure, or hey, we're looking for a second home or whatever. Those are those types. Their pain points, of course, are the house is too small, divorce, or things like that. Listen for those things, because once we have those things, now we can help solve their problem and serve them better as agents. So think of all your past clients that you've already, if you weren't aware of this journey or their communication, think of those cold, whether they're cold leads, whether they're referrals or whatever. Think of where, the times you talked to them and where they were at in that journey. You probably can go back and remember, and start placing these people where they are at. But by doing that, when I take a lead, or when I used to take leads and look at them and figure where they're at in the journey, is a lot of what and how we market to them, or we or if we're sending them video or calls, or maybe even a handwritten note. So try to place them in there, and I think that'll help you be more productive as an agent, going forth. So some tips on communicating is, of course, initiate the contact, depending on where they're at in the phase. If they're in the consideration phase and they've reached out to you, do not call them. Do not send them a personal note or a video, or something like that. Reach out to them first if they've signed up on your thing. If it's an open house, we talked about this. I don't know in the last class, but I know I was talking to some agents here last week. We are talking about open house. I find, in KV Core, and also in other lead platforms that you sign up for, I found that the open house, when we advertise an open house where they sign up for that, those leads were actually more in the consideration phase, and it was an easy phone call to give them a personal invite to that open house. And so, but I contacted them first. I didn't just take the one contact, which was their email and their information, and not reach back out to them. So make sure you're contacting them first, and even, if you're even in the decision phase where you're under contract with something, don't let them contact you first and say, hey, when is this happening, or when is this happening? Be proactive and contact them all the way through the life cycle of a purchase, so that they're not sitting out there wondering what's next. When's is appraisal next? Is inspection? No, be reaching out to them all the time. Be responsive is another thing. So many agents, and Angela's not on here. I'd love her to talk about her last deal. But be responsive to these people, and as an agent, be responsive to the other agent. That's so important to, we're considered cooperating agents, and we should be cooperating fully and keeping everybody informed. I've told this a number of times. I like calling on Tuesday mornings, because per lenders and per title and per, everybody else, they like Tuesday mornings. Monday mornings, generally they're taking care of things through the weekend that came in. Excuse me. But I like calling everybody that is involved with the transaction on Tuesday mornings to see if there's anything else they need. Now, my personal client, I'm calling them more often. But if I'm communicating with the lender, hey, is there anything that you need to get in? Are we missing anything? Is everything going well? I don't care which side of the deal you're on. Contact the lender, make sure, hey, did the other side get all their stuff in, or how is everything moving through? Doc, how many problems you can catch early on and can fix just by communicating. with entitled the same way. Then I call the other side, the other agent. Hey, you need anything? How's it going? Okay, and you catch things early instead of last minute, and it makes that deal go a lot easier. You talk to any lender or any title person that gets this information last bit. Um, we had a deal last week, and again, it may be Angela's deal, I think, but they didn't even get the contract to title until a week before. I mean, and if you would have if you contact all sides through it, you'd have known that the first Tuesday you called that wasn't done. You could have followed up and got that taken care of. So be responsive to your client often and to all other parties involved in the transaction at least once a week. Listen carefully. Uh, you know, when we again, I'm preaching the CRM, but when we are listening and knowing their family names and their dog names and what they like, you think of Ford, the conversation piece, family, occupation, recreation, and their dreams. Um, when you have these conversations or when you're communicating with their client, try to listen carefully on those things. And those are just some helpful. Ford acronym is just a helpful thing to help remember because people love to hear their name. They love to be called by their name. They love to know you as an agent care about them and are talking about, are saying their spouse's name or their partner's name or their kids' names, their dog's name. That shows that you remembered. And if they're not in that decision phase and they're just in that consideration phase and you're contacting them and talking to them like that, you've developed a relationship and they're more likely, to use you. So people, first of all, use people they know. And then the second thing is they look at people who offer value to them and they know are going to serve them. So listen carefully, get those points, put them in your CRM. That's why CRM is so important, and make notes of it, and try to find as much stuff. Listen to their pain points, put that in your CRM so you know what they are, and then listen to what they want in a home, what their time frame is, things like that. So show that you care and that you're going to offer them service. Um, share if they're, let's say, in the consideration phase or the awareness phase, and they just started somewhere in between there. On your Facebook, on your Instagram, share information about the community that you represent. So if you're representing, let's say, Wilson County, Rutherford County, and Williamson County, have some information about those counties in your post, in your Instagram. Maybe go visit a subdivision, talk about that subdivision. AV Core, and I think Bullseye also has a way of making community pages, a separate page that you can write things on those pages and share out, and they're on your website. So it also shows you're local, shows you know the area, and makes it more comfortable for somebody in that consideration phase to reach out to you and talk to you. Use your client's main method of communication. I'll be honest with you, I am bad about this. I'm not as much of a texter or emailer as I am just I'm gonna pick up the phone and call. I guess that's because I'm old school from when I started this career. But use your client, especially today. The younger generation likes to text more than they like to talk on the phone. And so if that's their preferred communication, that's how they like to be talked. And I don't think it's wrong for you to ask them the first time, how do you, in fact, I think in most of our drip emails, our drip campaigns, it actually asks them, is email or text the best communication with you? So just follow that. And then at least do that until you've warmed them up enough that they're ready to talk to you. I just think phone calls are a little more personal than a text, but that's just me. The other thing is think of how powerful video is. You have the ability with KV Core. If you got KV Core, you have the ability to hit that video app on any of your contacts you have in there and send them a brief video. Uh, some of you have the Video Fizz that offers here. I know, Steve, you use it quite a bit, and it's very powerful to just send a quick video uh, to them. And whether it's just saying, hey, thanks for contacting me on the internet, are you, if you're interested in the property, I got time this week. But when they put a face, and if you put their name on that video when you're talking to them, you have just jumped leaps and bounds over anybody else that's trying to reach out to them. So you got to remember, in that awareness/consideration phase, these people are on Zillow and on realtor.com. Just because they may have bit your bait on a certain house and put their information in does not mean they didn't do the same thing on Zillow or realtor.com. And those agents are calling them left and right. They're not sent rarely, and correct me if I'm wrong, but how many of you know an agent out there that sends a video instead of a text and actually talks to the clients? It's very few and far between. But I'm telling you, when you do that, you've jumped a bunch of stages ahead of every other agent that's just trying to call them or just sending a bunch of text or has them on a drip email campaign. Same thing, that video also, if you have somebody in KV Core, you're watching your dashboard regularly, and let's say, again, if you've been through my Buffini, I got the target there where the leads go, and they could be in that D phase or C phase. But when you see somebody in D or C, which have not been responsive for 6-7 months, all of a sudden start looking at houses, a short little video to them, a personal video saying, hey, Michelle, I appreciate you looking at, or I'm glad you look at using my website and seeing homes. Did you see anything you like? By the way, if you want to go see a home this weekend, I've got availability on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Just give me a call. Hope you're doing well. Stay warm in this weather. If Michelle sent that to somebody in D or C that has been unresponsive to any communication, that's going to go a long way in making those people say, okay, I'm raising my hand, and Michelle's my agent now. So try to use those those videos if you've got the capability. If you don't, check into it. I just think it's one of the more powerful tools we have that is so underutilized. So you see everybody doing a lot of video and putting it on Facebook and stuff, but that personal communication through video is pretty cool, and really will pull you up in through this phase a lot faster and get them to that decision phase. Be consistent. Of course, we do consistency. Once they're in your CRM and once they're on a drip email campaign and a texting campaign, whatever, that consistency is already built in. So I think we're for those leads that are D's and C's, I think that's taken care of. Again, the reason we have KV Core and that CRM is because we get to see when they're opening it. We get to see when they're interacting with those drip emails or those texts. But the consistency is built into those things already, so I think they're good. And also remember, if you're going to your dashboard every day in KV Core, it's telling you if you should call them. It's telling you what to do next. So go to your dashboard, be looking at those things. And then remember, those people that move on up that ladder into that, and move closer to that target to A, those B's and A's. A's are probably people you've already done business with, or they could be referrals or whatever. Those are the ones that we're handwriting. So be consistent in your writing your letters, your handwritten letters to your leads or your sphere of influence, and just so you're staying top of mind, and it means a whole lot more. Same thing, be consistent. If you're doing an open house, people come visit, you get their information. If they give you an address or whatever, make sure you're following up with them, thanking them for coming to that open house, letting them know you've got other resources to help them. If they're just in that consideration stage. I think a lot of open house people are in that consideration stage and doing their research. So they're really good leads to get. And that's why I encourage you to do open houses as much as possible. But be consistent in your communication. Anticipate questions. So know, this is where scripts come in. Never been a huge script guy, um, but this is where knowledge of your community comes in, knowledge of the market, knowledge of what's available. So before I ever make a phone call, let's say they they signed up for information about 123 Oak Street for a property I had out there. Before I ever call them, I know what's available in that neighborhood. I know what's available even outside that neighborhood, but is close to what that house is. I know what's sold in the past. I know what's coming soon, so that if that conversation goes just to that neighborhood, I got some knowledge about it. Maybe have real tracks pulled up so that you have knowledge about what's, or and you're ready to anticipate those questions. Don't say don't say I don't know. Let me get back to you if that's something that you could have known before. Obviously, there may be a question that's asked to you that you will not know, but be ready just in case. Know the neighborhood, know the area, know the schools, know those things. And same thing goes on a listing appointment. Know where you're what's going on in that neighborhood or that community, and the schools. Just know those things so that you're speaking like an expert and a professional when you're talking to those people. When you do meet them in person, pay attention to your body language. Uh, that person that says, "Yeah, I'd like to buy a $200,000 house in Murfreesboro, and I want it to be 2,500 square feet." Obviously, in our minds, we're going, "Yeah, right," but just don't let our body language show that. So be careful with your body language. Um, I know a lot of us can't hide our feelings in our face. Our faces show them, but try to, and try to maintain that uh, professional attitude, and with your body language. And then I talked about last week. I talked about they say there's 3 stages, but I believe that fourth stage is after the sale, the follow up. So keep in touch with them after and communicate with them after the sale. Um, we have ways here to do that automatically. And and Steve, I know Steve does it regularly, and I don't know how many others do. When after he has a sale, he puts them on that automatic follow up, takes care of them for 5 years. But also put in your CRM to remind you when their home anniversary, when that transaction closed, a year ago. So it comes up every time. It's a great way to have a reason to call them. It's a great way to give a shout out on Facebook or Instagram. It's a great way to write a letter to them, and then don't forget to ask for that referral. Say, "Hey, I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for using me. By the way, it's been a year. Uh, wish them anniversary. Throw a little gift card in there, do whatever." But then at the end of that, do not forget to ask for the referral. I think as agents we may communicate pretty well, but we're scared to ask for the referral, and I don't know why. If we did a great job, most people are so willing to refer it. But those people, that's your best lead generation, and the best conversion rate you'll have is those referrals. So all those people that you've closed deals with before, your sphere of influence, those people that know you and who you are, we should be regularly reaching out to them with helpful information, but also ask for that referral every now and then. So hope that helped. All right. Well, everybody stay warm. Get outside and play in the snow if you're brave enough. I'm not anymore. But this week, really think about your communication, look at your leads, figure out where they're at in the journey, and just think of different ways that you can communicate with them when you figure out where they're at the journey, and how that will help. So anyway, y'all have a good week, and we will talk soon. And don't forget Thursday at 11, broker open. Those guys will be doing a broker open for agents. They always bring good information, so get on there. We'll send you out a reminder. So All right. We'll talk to y'all soon. Let me know if y'all need anything.